It is a very good morning to you all and welcome to the Breakfast Club right here on Asake. My name is Fungai Mawada. Zimbabwe is headed for the 2023 elections and various organizations have been joining us on the Breakfast Club, including political leaders, to talk about their plans in terms of the 2023 elections. To help me talk more about this, I am joined by Nkosikhona Dibiti from Ekhaya Vote 263. He's the spokesperson there. Good morning, Nkosi, and welcome to the Breakfast Club.
Thank you so much, Fungai.
All right, so maybe just to begin, what is your organization about?
Okay, Ekhaya Vote 2023 is a coalition of civil society organizations working in Bulawayo, Mad North and Mad South. So we came together because of the low registration numbers that we received from ZEC in these particular 3 provinces. And you would notice that of the 10 provinces in Zimbabwe, the ones with the least are these 3 provinces, which is Bulawayo, Mad North and Mad South, where we work. And then we said as colleagues, we can't continue to work in silos. We need to come together and try to work and increase, the number of registered voters and also increase awareness about the importance of electoral participation. However, our idea was, since we are in the civil society space, we are apolitical, we need to give, communities or citizens or the people of Zimbabwe an opportunity to participate in electoral processes. So our messaging was very clear and simple. We're looking into the nexus between, service delivery and elections. Because most of the time, if you talk about election, people think you are politically or you are working for party A or B. But we're actually grounding citizens, residents, or communities around service delivery. That service delivery, the starting point around service delivery starts from the electoral participation. So we're trying to mobilize, not in silos, but as a group, as a block, to then say, okay, let's have more young people registering to vote. Let's have more people registering to vote with the view that delimitation was coming. And it is still on the process. I'm sure by December we'll be aware how the country is being rearranged according to the numbers of registered voters. So that is the reason why we came up with Ekaya Vote. Ekaya itself, just to zero in on why Ekaya, someone will be asking why Ekaya Vote. Is it a political party or not? But Ekaya Vote, the word Ekaya stems from home. We were looking at homegrown solutions around electoral participation. We're looking at it in this model to say if we're talking about electoral participation, we don't want to talk about it as a very high up thing. Let's localize it. Let's take it to the grassroots. Let's take it to even the family level. To say, in my family, let's have a conversation about electoral participation. Let's have a conversation about service delivery. Let's have a conversation about the importance of registering to vote. And that is where it's coming from. Ekaya, we are grounding it to the very grassroots where the people are and explaining to them the importance of electoral participation with the view that we cannot have less representation in Matabele because people are not registered to vote. Yet the census is showing us that the people are there. It's not like they are not there, they are there, but we are saying we need them to register to vote to kind of like curtail, to stop the impending, delimitation exercise that will see maybe Bulawayo losing constituencies, Mad North and Mad South because of the lower registered voters in these communities.
So how far has your organization gone in terms of creating voter education as well as election awareness? Because it seems like a lot of people are not really aware of the importance of elections in Zimbabwe.
We did a lot of work for Guy in February, where ZEC gave us the voter registration blitz, where ZEC was going to the communities. We were very active during that period. It was one of the periods that we harvested actually good success stories in terms of young people registering to vote. And we also had the second blitz as well in April. That's where we worked also tirelessly with our volunteers on a daily basis, working in Bulawayo, Mad North and Mad South. In the rural communities, we changed strategy. We're doing soccer tournaments, netball, football, invite ZEC to come to the stadium to register people. We have also engaged even with the Registrar General's office at the time to try to engage them around the ID please, because we had noticed some young people didn't have IDs then, for them to be eligible to register as voters. So all those engagements were designed for us to be able to push as many people to register as voters as possible. So I think with over 30 voter educators working with these communities. So they were going there to share more information about voter education, but most importantly, we're also doing our research to find out why there is less or lower numbers of registered voters, and also not to hear from the streets, but to hear from the horse's mouth why maybe young people are not interested in voting, and also hear the issues that affect these communities. But you notice that our suspicions were quite answered, because we actually, many citizens were talking about, service delivery. We're talking about, we're expecting service A, B, C, D. We are expecting this and that to be done in our community. And that was the basis of saying, okay, let's get to engage with people and understand what is the root cause of, voter fatigue. We usually call it voter fatigue, because it's like you know what you're supposed to do, but you're just tired. You are not really keen to do it. You don't see value in doing it. So what's making you tired? That was actually the tutor approach while doing civic education, but also researching and finding out why there is that kind of. So we've done a lot of voter education. We've done it through the teams that I was talking about, that were going to the communities and really focusing on the wards and constituencies that had the lowest registered voters, your Makwekwes in Bulawayo, your Matobo South, and in Sis. So these are some of the places that we went. We also did Lupani in the outside Bulawayo. But as a coalition, we work with different organizations across these regions. You reach to Vic Falls, you reach to Beitbridge, and so we're trying to do it in different ways that attract different audiences, as a way to say we can't package a message for young people in the same way we would package it for a 40-year-old and above. So these are some of the things that we've been trying to do. And just on this past Saturday, we're in Kwanda as well, where we're doing a soccer tournament, and we're fortunate enough, Zek came in to register people to vote, and also there were people who registered to vote on that particular weekend. Then we've got other efforts that are done by different CSOs within the coalition in different communities. So we haven't stopped, engaging around these issues, because voter registration is a ongoing process until we get to the elections. So we are trying to continue expediting these efforts and also strengthening them. So we're looking forward to having more different engagements, radio shows, more sporting activities, especially in the rural communities, and also trying to share more information about things that are happening right now. In Madobo, I think next month, there's going to be a by-election. So as Ekaya Vote with colleagues, we're having a conversation to cover those elections and also see how we can assist in terms of bridging the information gap that might exist in communities about electoral participation. Some think voter education is done. It's no longer there. But we insist we cannot not continue to share electoral civic participation generally. Elections, right now we're talking about elections, but we need to participate in different platforms, whether it's budget consultation, whether it's parliamentary hearings, consultations done by parliament on different bills. We need citizens that are actually engaged.
All right, very interesting. And I was listening to you talk, and I was just thinking to myself, so what are the top reasons that most young people experience voter fatigue or voter apathy, according to your research that you've done so far?
According to our research, from the feedback we got from our voter educators, is that many don't see value in electoral participation. Like, I am not working, how will electoral voting change my not working? Some will tell you that we don't see the economy is not allowing us to stop our hustle and go and register to vote and come back to the hustle. So you find that bread and butter issues are the ones that are priority to communities. What do I stand to benefit? I remember some of our teams in Makwekwe were saying, young people are asking, so if I go and register to vote at the hall, what are you going to give me? You are asking a voter educate. What are you going to give me if I go and register to vote?
Like I'm rewarding you
Is
for
there a
educating
t-shirt?
me.
Is there a t-shirt? Is there a cap? Is there some money, little money or something? So you find that there is a hybrid of issues, but chief among them is the livelihood issues. That you can't have a conversation about electoral participation without really getting into livelihood, because someone will link it to this to their stomach and say, okay, if I vote, then what happens? We also observed the March 26 by-elections. Those were the same conversations. Why should we vote again? People are tired. This one has been recorded, that other one has been recorded. We are doing by-elections again and things like that. We had so many by-elections. And people are asking, community are asking, we voted for councillors and MPs in 2018. What has happened? That is an issue that can be answered by politicians. But however, we expect citizens to also go and cast their vote, because it's a by-election. So those are some of the issues that we need to actually look holistically, from the political parties, from the economics of the country, to even civil society trying to push voter education and really have this conversation. But there are some people who would think, we'll wait for the real elections.
Wow.
These ones, And the most important elections, from our observation, was people are so keen on the presidential vote, not these other ones. So they are not elections to them. It's the real elections are the 2018 elections and the ones that are coming in 2023.
Very interesting. And you spoke, of course, about your relationship with ZEC. Kuti ZEC has been coming on the ground and allowing people to register to vote. Is that always a constant? Are they always available? Because I've seen on social media, people have been talking about how ZEC, sometimes the offices are closed and they're like, so what is your relationship like with ZEC?
When we launched the Ekhaya Vote 2023, that was November 2021, we actually approached ZEC as a stakeholder, and we told them that this is what we are intending to do. We really need your support, because it will be difficult for us to work without the support of ZEC. And I was talking about voter educators. Those voter educators were accredited by ZEC. So they had badges written ZEC. Because we said we cannot work without this key stakeholder, which is ZEC. We have not had really challenges with ZEC in terms of organizing. We have done what we had called community meetings, community engagement meetings in these communities, and it will not be us coalition members addressing the communities. It will be ZEC. So we plan the meeting, we mobilize the people, they go into Soulsile Hall, we engage ZEC, we tell them communities are waiting for you to address them, share with them the electoral system, answer questions that they might have, and they've done that with us. And like I'm saying, in Gwanda, we had ZEC addressing young people, explaining to them about the importance of voter registration and the whole electoral cycle. So you find that with ZEC, there are so many aspects of elections that they do. They explain if you are a councillor, what is required, if you want to be an MP, what is required, and they give that kind of civic education that can allow someone to understand, even to say what is required for you to be a registered voter. At times you find young people saying, I brought, you are mobilizing people and they come without IDs and they expect that maybe a birth certificate can be used to register to vote, but it doesn't. A driver's license, for example, but it doesn't. So we needed ZEC really to help us with that, and they've done so well in terms of engaging with us and even the communities where we work, in view of ensuring that at least they've got also access to the communities in terms of explaining to them what is required and how the electoral systems work. At times, you really need to explain a whole electoral act, because we had one community meeting, one gentleman asked, why are those in prison not voting? It's a question I was not ready for. It's a question I would have asked, but I had to listen to ZEC explain what it means and how the electoral act works. So that's what we have tried to do in terms of packaging that same information and redistributing it on social media, so that people have an understanding of what is happening and what how important it is, and even explaining the big words, delimitation is too big a word. What are you doing?
Yes.
What will you be doing?
Yes.
And things like that. And others, communities, the people would suggest in a community meeting, they say, so why don't you just divide using the census? But the law does not allow for that. So that's where we need ZEC in these platforms to explain. So we've really partnered with them in terms of that kind of explanation, because we don't want to sponsor disinformation, misinformation. Then the next thing you're like, Ekaya, what people are saying this. But we are saying, ZEC, we are the experts, we are the electoral management body for elections. So this is the platform, these are the young people. They come for soccer, but we know in that soccer tournament, you can engage them and answer the questions that they might have.
Okay, speaking of ZEC, obviously they publicized the nominees' fees, and there's been an outcry from both sides. Some people are happy with it, saying that it will reduce the numbers of people. People who are elected will be those who are right for the office, who have a following to begin with. And then others are saying, no, it's too high. It sort of like shuns the poor and the likes, and we should, take into cognizance our economy in Zimbabwe. What is your stance as Ekhaya Vote 2023 on the nominees' fees?
So as a coalition, we have concerns because we've got youth organizations in the coalition who have raised sentiments around it will eliticize politics, it will not give young people a chance to participate. We also have similarly women organizations who are saying most women in these marginalized communities have no access to income. Maybe if they are not supported from the family structure, how are they going to be able to raise $100 for the councillor, or if they want to be an MP, $1,000 and things like that. And our conversation largely has been, we need as civil society to also, have capacity building for communities in terms of leadership, because it's mostly leadership aspect. The fee, yes, we're in conversation about it to say maybe it's a bit steep, looking at vis-a-vis the economic situation that we're facing in Zimbabwe. And but we are saying we also noticed a gap to say we need to capacitate communities. If it can be young people, it can be women who want to go into public office. Because the whole idea is you should be able to canvass your community to support you, whether ZEC increases them again or whether ZEC lowers them. But we should be having young people and women who are capacitated with leadership skills to be able to participate in electoral processes and not be affected by what amount is required at the time, and have that aspect that will not segregate people because of income levels that they are having.
Okay, very interesting. And like I mentioned at the beginning, that the 2023 elections are literally around the corner. So, what projects do you have lined up as Ekhaya Vote 263, rather to mobilize people to register to vote and even participating fully in those elections come 2023?
So what we've been trying to do is to continuously, electoral cycle, the most talked about is election day. But like we've been saying, from the year starting this year, we've been busy about the electoral cycle. The voter registration, there was the what you call the voters roll inspection, and then there's delimitation coming up. All these are going to happen before 2023.
Yes.
And these processes need a lot of resources. We need resources as Ekaya Vote to be able to help communities participate in these processes. But the most important one is the election, where we are voting. Literally everyone knows. But what we've been trying to do is to try to ensure that in all these electoral cycle processes, people understand what is going on. You will notice that at times we can vote someone into office, which means they're almost done with their 5 years. Your councillors and your MPs and the presidia, they are almost done. But the question is, what was their role? What's the role of the councillor? We can't just say the councillor has been nominated. What is the nomination process? What does it involve? Okay, V11, people talk about V11, people talk about observing elections, for example. What is all that? So you find that right now, there's so much conversation about election, and also there's so much gaps about understanding what is happening. What is even a by-election? Many people don't know do not understand, and they don't see the need. I voted, so why should I vote again? Or are we not voting in the next? So these processes as Ekhaya Vote, we have tried to really make sure that we are engaged and involved in the whole processes in terms of sharing information that is critical. You notice, many people confuse the role of a councillor and an MP. And the time they want the MP to do the councillor role, or blame the MP for the councillor role, or blame the councillor for the MP role. So those are the things that we continuously need to raise awareness and educate people about, such that if you are choosing your leader, you know what their role is, and you know where you're fitting as a community member or as a citizen of Zimbabwe. So that is where the gap is. And as a kind of what we are saying, post 2023 will still be working because it's a cycle. So post 2023, the candidates that the communities have selected will be going into office. These ones are almost done. So the question is, how have they been doing? How have they been faring? Post 2023, we are done with the elections. All other processes continue. Voter registration will still be continuing. What are we going? We're going to do more activities around that, but we're looking at the entirety of the electoral cycle, because this year alone I've learned a lot. Engaging with ZEC, explaining delimitation, what delimitation means. And right now, Fungai, City of Bulawayo has proposed to ZEC that we want our wards to move from 29 to 36. How does that happen? What does it mean? If we have 36 wards, what does it mean? Okay, 36 councillors, what is it saying to me as a resident of Bulawayo? So those are some of the issues that we bring out and try to explain. But the most important thing is the nexus between elections themselves and service delivery, because on a day-to-day basis, you have a representative in parliament, you have a representative in council. What is your role? What is their responsibility? What are their roles and their responsibilities as well?
Nkosi, thank you so much for joining us on the Breakfast Club. And of course, we wish you all the best and all the success with Ekhaya Vote 2023. And for you at home, thank you so much for joining us on the Breakfast Club once again. Make sure you join us again tomorrow, same time right here on the Breakfast Club. And remember to register to vote. And don't forget as well to like and to follow us on all social media platforms, right? Site ZW on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, as well as on Twitter. From myself, Fungai, and the team behind the scenes, goodbye.